The Pittsburgh Steelers and the Kansas City Chiefs pulled off a late but significant trade during the third day of the 2025 NFL Draft, adding another layer of strategy to what had already been an intriguing weekend for both organizations. As teams worked to capitalize on depth selections and uncover late-round gems, Pittsburgh found themselves once again active in the trade market, making a calculated move to slide back in the fifth round in exchange for additional draft capital. Entering Day 3, the Steelers started strong by addressing one of their remaining defensive needs, selecting edge rusher Jack Sawyer out of Ohio State with their first pick of the day. Sawyer, a high-upside pass rusher with a solid college resume, was widely seen as a strong value pick at that point in the draft, offering versatility and future starter potential in Pittsburgh's aggressive defensive scheme. However, with their second pick scheduled at number 156 overall, Pittsburgh decided to shift gears. Rather than standing pat, General Manager Omar Khan agreed to terms with the Kansas City Chiefs, sending the 156th pick to the reigning Super Bowl champions. In return, the Steelers received the Chiefs' 164th overall pick, still in the fifth round, and the 226th overall pick, a late seventh-rounder. This move gave Pittsburgh an additional dart to throw late in the draft and marked a subtle but strategic play by Khan and the front office. After trading away their second-round pick earlier in the offseason to acquire star wide receiver DK Metcalf from the Seattle Seahawks, the Steelers entered the draft with only 6 total selections. Khan had hinted during pre-draft press conferences that Pittsburgh was open to maneuvering throughout the draft if opportunities presented themselves, and the decision to move back here reflected that willingness to adapt. From a broader strategic view, moving back 8 spots while picking up an extra selection is a smart move when a team feels confident about the depth of the players available on their board. It also signals that Pittsburgh may have had a cluster of similarly graded prospects still available, giving them the flexibility to move backward without fear of missing out on a priority target. Up to this point in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Steelers have methodically added talent at key positions of need. Alongside Jack Sawyer, Pittsburgh had previously selected Oregon defensive tackle Derek Harmon and Iowa running back Caleb Johnson, addressing both the trenches and the offensive backfield with tough, physical players who fit the Steelers' traditional mold. Harmon brings strength and run-stuffing ability to the defensive interior, while Johnson offers depth and a potential rotational role behind projected starter Jaylen Warren. With their remaining selections, Pittsburgh is expected to continue targeting positions that could use an infusion of youth and competition. Quarterback remains a possible target, particularly with reports suggesting the team is interested in bringing 4 quarterbacks into training camp. Depending on how the board falls, the Steelers may look at developmental prospects who can compete for backup roles or, with some seasoning, grow into more significant contributors. Cornerback is another area that remains high on Pittsburgh's radar. While the team boasts talent at the position, including Joey Porter Jr. and veteran Minkah Fitzpatrick anchoring the secondary, adding depth and grooming future starters is always a priority for an organization that has historically built dominant defenses from the back end forward. Wide receiver could also be in play. While Metcalf and George Pickens, assuming he remains with the team amid trade rumors, headline the receiving core, the Steelers lack proven depth behind them. A Day 3 selection at receiver would make sense, particularly a player who can contribute on special teams early while developing as a rotational offensive weapon. The offensive line, too, may draw Pittsburgh's attention before the draft concludes. Although recent investments through free agency and prior drafts have stabilized the unit, depth along the interior line remains a concern. Adding a developmental guard or center late in the draft could pay dividends, especially in an AFC North division known for physical trench warfare. There's also the possibility that Pittsburgh could double-dip at defensive tackle, depending on how the remaining picks unfold. Given the importance of rotational depth on the defensive front in modern NFL defenses, and considering the Steelers' emphasis on dominating the line of scrimmage, using another late-round selection on a high motor, developmental defensive tackle would align with the team's long-standing philosophy. Of particular note is the fact that this trade marks the first time General Manager Omar Khan has traded backward in the NFL Draft. Since taking over the role, Khan has built a reputation as an aggressive, forward-thinking executive. His previous major draft day trade came during the 2023 NFL Draft, when the Steelers moved up in a bold deal with the New England Patriots to select offensive tackle Broderick Jones. That move, which secured a franchise left tackle, paid immediate dividends and demonstrated Khan's willingness to pounce when the situation demanded. This year's move to trade down, however, showcases Khan's adaptability and patience. Rather than forcing a selection at 156 overall, the Steelers opted to maximize value and trust their scouting and coaching staff to find contributors later on. It's a nuanced shift in strategy, but one that could have significant long-term benefits if Pittsburgh successfully hits on the extra pick they gained from Kansas City. Kansas City's motivation for the trade appears clear as well. The Chiefs, always in win-now mode with Patrick Mahomes under center, likely had a specific target in mind at number 156 and were willing to part with a late 7th-round pick to ensure they secured him. For a franchise focused on sustaining excellence and maximizing Mahomes' prime, aggressive moves like this are par for the course. For Pittsburgh, the focus now shifts to capitalizing on their added draft ammunition. With 2 more picks remaining after the trade, the Steelers have the opportunity to add young talent that can push veterans, contribute on special teams, and develop into future starters. The importance of hitting on late-round picks cannot be overstated, especially for a team that prides itself on homegrown talent and fiscal responsibility. The Steelers' track record on Day 3 of the draft is solid. Over the years, they've unearthed gems like Antonio Brown, Vince Williams, and Kelvin Beachum, among others. With a front office and scouting department steeped in tradition but open to new methods, Pittsburgh will aim to replicate that success as the 2025 draft draws to a close. As the draft continues, fans and analysts alike will watch closely to see how the Steelers utilize their remaining selections. Will they find the next late-round success story? Will they prioritize offense or defense? Will they take a flyer on a quarterback with upside? All of these questions add intrigue to a draft weekend that has already seen its fair share of drama. One thing is certain, Omar Khan and the Pittsburgh Steelers are operating with a clear vision. They understand the importance of maximizing every pick, every opportunity, and every trade. In an AFC loaded with rising powers and elite quarterbacks, staying competitive requires not just big moves, but smart ones. And with this trade, the Steelers have once again positioned themselves to build for both the present and the future. While much attention naturally falls on the first-round stars, championship teams are often built on the strength of their Day 2 and Day 3 picks. If Pittsburgh can find even 1 or 2 future contributors with their remaining selections, this weekend will be deemed a success, regardless of the initial shock some fans may feel about trading down. The 2025 NFL Draft is far from over, and Pittsburgh's story within it continues to unfold. The board remains wide open. Opportunities remain. And the Steelers, as always, are ready to seize them.